Belief, and today I'm joined by Chief Brian James. If you don't mind, I'm going to introduce you and we're going to get right
Okay.
into it.
Okay.
All right, Chief James is a Greensboro native. He is an alumni of Page High School, which I won't hold that against you as I am a cowboy. And he is a graduate from North Carolina State A&T University. I said that so wrong, but it's right. He has worked in law enforcement for approximately 25 years now and recently completed his first year as chief of police. In addition to this, he's a husband, a girl dad, and I heard an avid video game player. Is this true?
Although I don't have a lot of time to play anymore, yes, I still play video games. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm sure my brother will enjoy that. He is joining me today to answer some of the questions that we all have. And before we get into it, I did want to say that this series is surrounded around listening, and being open and transparent. So I ask the listeners to be as receptive as they possibly can, and I have full faith that you'll be as open and transparent as you possibly can as well.
Okay.
All right, so we have a lot to unpack, so we're going to go ahead and get started with
Okay.
our first question.
All right.
So you've recently ended your first year as chief of police, and what a year you've had, right? You've had racial injustice on full display, a global pandemic, and the already stressful job of being a police officer. So, with all of that, how do you feel your first year went?
I think just with everything considered, overall, it has been a good year.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that because I look at what goes on around the country in a lot of other cities, and I think that for the most part, we've been able to manage things well here in Greensboro. Of course, trying to police through a pandemic, very difficult because one thing I always talk about is that the community relationships are the lifeblood of what we do.
Right.
And so a year ago, we were told don't contact anyone if you don't have to, basically to avoid the physical contact. So that's what we did. Well, a few months later, you have the incident where George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, and that starts the social unrest. And then we're dealing with daily protests, so we had to manage those. And fortunately, I would say overall the management of that went well. And believe it or not, it actually created some opportunities for our officers as well as me to talk to a lot of people about a lot of things that were going on. So it gave me a chance to look at some of the policies that we had in place around policing, but then it also gave me uh, an opportunity to show some of the things that we already had in place that may not be in place in other communities to make sure that we have the right people on the police department and that they're doing the right things and that they're accountable for what they do. So I would say that by and large, we still have some great relationships in the community through everything, and we're still trying to build those relationships.